Hidden World by Paola Faure. Dedication. I dedicate and thank Alex Bachman and the CR Noticias team for all their support and information on psychotronic weapons. To the victims of this type of torture, TL, thank you very much for all your publications, and my dear family that has always been there has also been there in every tribulation. And to everyone who made this book possible. Preface. When the twilight appears, torture begins to remind her, but her memories are not of this world either, completely of her. His goal is to deceive the descendants of the fallen angels who have ruled mankind for millennia, and the children of the king bought by the blood of the Lamb. They believe that by selling their memories of DNA and astral they can make the world believe that they are superior. But instead, by breaking the pacts and millenary decrees, the cherubim lost the seventh war against I Am, being chained for 1,000 years, giving hope to the descendants of the fallen who can change their destiny through the redemption of the Lamb. Remembering the past. Before the silver chain breaks, and the gold bowl, and the pitcher is broken next to the fountain, and the wheel is broken over the well, and the dust returns to the earth, as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Ecclesiastes 12, 6-7. Another nightmare, already completed another week with the same. When I was a child I created stories to escape from them, but this time at 3 in the morning it didn't work. His body had marks of having fought again. He knew that those tracks would disappear in the morning. I wouldn't have tests like when I was a child. Think about taking something to sleep, but the nightmares would continue if you did. They were the same since he has memory. Through the years he had convinced himself that everything was his imagination. He had blocked them so far. The giant, the lions, a world of 3 moons that are destroyed in the continuous wars for power. Winged royalty, 4-sided beings, exploding planets, half animal and half human beings, other winged beings, and beings of species I did not know. Everything came back, everything I remember. Happy, sad, fear returned. People like his grandfather dressed in tight blue, others more baggy. In short, everything came back, and his mind was at first like a Russian salad, which gradually settled. Despite being nightmares, I could rescue 3 dreams that were repeated night after night without variation. These were like the cheap programming of a marathon of the 70s, with the corresponding propaganda interruptions. Their meaning did not know, although she and her family interpreted dreams. One of the dream characters was real, I knew it. Dreaming about him, perhaps it was a way to escape the loneliness he felt as a child. On more than one occasion when he went out with his mother he had seen him, always watching from afar. There were other occasions that he saw him at home, near his grandfather transparently, no one else saw him. He looked at her and spoke to his mind with figures or audibly. Years later he knew that this was called astral projection. He was her imaginary girlfriend, a distant relative, who had to leave and leave her here. He still remembers that, playing as a child, he sees his body coming out of himself, shouting to the sky to be carried, which was one of them, but his response was that he would not survive. He did not feel it again until many years later, on a Christmas when he joined his first partner. He sees astral projected a Franciscan priest marrying them and him from afar watching the view through the thoughtful window, half annoying. He only thought that his imagination played with his mind, because he wanted to forget the spiritual world and felt guilty for the whole Christian ideology as a child. First dream. The window is large and covers almost the entire wall. It is strange. The room is dimly lit, the silhouette of him is barely visible observing the darkness of the night. The blue dot from afar catches his attention. That man smiles and speaks to his mind, extends his hand. His silver blue robe shines with the hall light. Hope come. Don't stay there. When you take your hand, look at the blue dot, it is a planet with 3 moons. The feeling of confidence flooded the room. A new life, an opportunity to survive after the black hole swallowed its solar system. Second dream. Run to save your life, feel that your heart will come out of your throat. Explosions, cries of panic and death surpass the fiction of a war movie. He covers his ears. One bleeds from the buzz, gets scared and screams. She knows that they are looking for her, she must hide or she will have the same destiny as them. Enter a room, the first thing you see is a table. It hides in it, taking advantage of the large tablecloth that covers the legs. He sucks his finger and curls up in a fetus position. Open your eyes and realize that you can look through the small hole left by the tablecloth. Her height of 3 years helps her to enter small places and not be seen. That saved her in the room, but saw her run through the door. He laughs, she visited them again. Someone enters, he hopes that he is his friend with great wings. It is not your friend who always helps you, it is the other. He is the leader of the place, who killed the children. He had great beauty, everyone admired him and prostrated himself before him. When he raised his hands, everyone ran to serve him, or prepared to sing. She liked to look at her rainbow hair. It really was a strange world, everyone sang when they spoke. The being screams in pain throwing the baton he used as a scepter. You can see it from where it is, it's changing its shape, he thought, is like the series that my dad sees, the person who transforms into a green monster. It's time to go, don't think twice. On leaving he stumbles upon the baton. He stops, he takes her unconscious because he needs to squeeze something. He just wants to cry, and doesn't remember how to return home. His eyes meet his as he rises. You can see that his cape is transformed into wings. Run, reach it. She screams, hits him with the baton burning him where he plays. Call his mother who will never appear. I growled, she froze. You can only think about your captor's lair. His friend also has one and has seen it transform into wings, will hers be the same? Although it is a silver blue color different from theirs. If so, try to escape. They reach their destination, outside everything is destroyed and dark. The ruins remind boring movies that his grandfather sees. The silence was deafening. He noticed the blue dot, now he had only one moon. Despite his distance he gave him peace. Listen to new species he says, not releasing her take care of him, pointing his baton, part of my DNA is in you, because I was also born of him and you have my seal before and after my rebellion. He remembered that sometimes when he visited the place he played with him. Her height made her feel like she was an ant. He passed the baton and taught to use it, it became a flute and scepter, just like hers. No one took her, and I miss her not to burn with her. And by decree you have a legal right to this. He pointed the baton. You and I have it by birth, when we were created with it. They will not be able to take it from you. If they believe they do, everything multiplied will come back to you and my pact by decree will be activated by removing everything they have in love. If you remember this in your physical body, another war is approaching and with it the activation of my protection decrees, by the pacts already determined and the one that will be determined with me and the Creator. These are before and after my rebellion in force forever. Every pact or decree you make must be sealed by the Saint in Gloria. He is the only one older than me, although I do not like to recognize him. Remember the minutes of the decrees, these are eternal, that is, they do not die. Do not forget. All kingdoms will bow to them whether they want to or not. For nothing you can depart from the Creator, or by the times of the times, the confines of the times, by the existing worlds or by existing, in the same way the galaxies, universes, dimensions, the named or what was not named, those that in them they inhabit or are outside of them, for the existing or for existing. That is my decree and legacy for you. New species, I will always remember you. Above all, your name, Hope. With his nails he breaks the space, he opens it like a curtain. She visualizes the place where I catch her in its daytime. She didn't want to think about the difference. Run, he said, he did not repeat it twice. She ran through fire, arrows, lights that burned everything in her path and explosions. He screamed to avoid each one. I hear the voice of the woman with a mask that she liked to visit. He found her, headed for her. The woman 6.5 meters, ran that place and others. When he sees her, he bends down to receive her and snuggle her into her belly and thus merge with her. Her eyes glow and the look of sadness disappears along with the girl. It is incorporated, its silver blue cape becomes 6 wings. They were a mixture of storks with silver tips that when looked closely could be compared to those of a peacock. From her dress she draws a silver sword with a handle full of jewels. They get up and sing when talking. Rebellion, rebellion. Make a decision, I cannot continue not. My people are destroyed and divided by their rebellion. My heart cries. I can do nothing but make a decision. Cruel decision. He prostrates himself on the ground, groans and cries. After a few minutes he gets up, he speaks singing. My heart, even destroyed this, I make the final decision. We will not fold our knees before that revolt. Final decision. My people, I made a pact for us. We will not fold our knees to which I rebel. Flee the ships and stay tuned for his call, we will only fight with his call. Miguel, my being feels you, she is in her time, go for her. Asiel, Cryoni, Yaonan already took their choice? Protect the new species. She must make her own decision. My essence and his are in her. One of my children survived. That makes my heart happy. Protect the new species and their offspring, each one must make their own choice. The being finishes transforming, without taking his hand out of the opening. Give a shriek and say, the price of my rebellion, my body transformed. Now I see that this war is not here, there are millennia away between my time and this, with constant wars with you, O my Creator. My heart is broken, although I want to repent, my pride prevents me. I wanted to be you, be on your throne, but now I know the cost. I see that beings like the new species are those who inhabit this planet today. My people mostly control them, others are under the covenant of salvation. That's why you hid its origin, you were wise to do it. Although it was not necessary, since she carries my essence and decrees, which at this moment I understand. Now I make the decrees that he carries, between his time and mine, so that they are coupled to the others that I asked you to present to you when I found her wounded crying because I couldn't find the way home. I have your holy smell and part of mine, which confused me, but you were wise not to give answers, to look inside. Carries my scepter in her heart, does not crave the power, neither yesterday nor now, that she visualized as an adult. I activate the return of the stolen to their ancestry, to her and her offspring. None of my troops or who they dominate can stop this decree, so they will see that no one among us is older than me. No matter what name my generals or marshals have been given for their worship on this planet or existing. Everyone must bow to me. I will annihilate every rebellion against my name. I cannot stand, nor will I bear the betrayal of my subordinates. My men now look for the scepter, believing they will rule, thus taking away the power that corresponds to me, and you know that your throne craved. They made a fatal mistake, and in due time I will punish that betrayal. I make this decree so that the delegated authority is seen in the confines of the times and that the decrees are eternal. No one of my followers calls me naive or stupid, no matter the professed devotion, but they are yours, they are mine. Whoever rebels for my troop against me, his heart will be taken out and sent to the abyss ahead of time. The destiny prepared by your decree will be advanced for them, for their vessels somewhat worse. My heart does not support that redemption granted to its vessels, and which they reject. No one of my people deprived me of power or my throne. I seal my decree with you in the past, present, existing times, dimensions, universes, galaxies, and in what is in them or to exist, what is named and not mentioned, the decree is and will be. I confirm it with every war we have from now on to protect the ancestors of Esperanza, her and her offspring, which bears my scepter and legacy of you of authority. Archangel Michael appears with a scroll, where the being sign with lightning. It is signed by both, says the laughing being, although his laugh seems more a growl. In this period he has a pact with you, that you make the decrees and seal them, none that is not your signature will be valid, including giving up what is given by you or yours. That includes my sacred scepter. He learned well from the story, he smiles and re-enters the opening, closing behind him. He shouts for the loss of what he loved and the betrayal of his marshal, who was slaughtered for firing at a ship that was taking off and carrying his emblem. We are eternal, he said as he dismembered him with his claws again and again, as his body regenerated in seconds. You will be stripped of your outfits, just like your followers, he said as he tired of hitting and tearing him apart. Third dream: every time she comes to this place she is scolded, but she loves that fruit that is nowhere, and she is hungry. It is a kind of giant pear, with a single ripple. I wouldn't know what else to compare it to. Both fit and taste. He likes to see the young redhead with his wife, the found similar to her. The first time he saw him, he couldn't get his eyes out of his wavy hair that fell on his shoulders. I had never seen that hair color and shape. It touches her curlers that covered her shoulder. He reminded the wire that his grandfather had in his workshop. He caresses her gently on the cheek, smiling, introduces him to his son, leaving them alone. Since that day he always accompanied her and helped to climb the tree to eat their fruit and others together. The teenager reminds his grandfather that he lived with her. Something happens, his winged friend comes for her. A fire sword appears. He will not be able to return anymore. The sword surrounds the tree, but he can get a fruit. He eats it on the way home, accommodated in the basket where his friend always carries it. Christina feels that pain equal to continuous discharges of electricity. It seems that they kill her little by little. She bites the pillow. She's awake, it's not a dream. His heart, his palpitations feel that crows eat his arms. My baby, exclaims with panic. Everything happens, there is calm. Listen to the voice of a man. It is attentive. although this sore can fight. Remember the creak behind the houses on the block. The silence of the night makes the voices of the street at the other end feel as if they were in your yard, or in the same room. The same thing happened with the conversations on the night of the neighbors next to their house, windows open or not, everything was heard, especially on the second floor. She remembered the gun under the pillow he kept every time he was home alone. She was bad and she was saved, but that helped her unconscious to take away her fear. She remembers the anecdote that happened a couple of weeks ago with his former tenant. He knew when his partner was not, it was the same property, and he lived ahead. He entered the house. She woke up and found him on top of her ready to unbutton her pants. Quickly take out the gun, he points out. He runs away screaming that she was crazy. His chest ached, he did not follow. His partner arrived 10 minutes after what happened. Calling the police or talking about it would be chaos, especially because of his reaction. His knowledge of martial arts made him a dangerous weapon, a policeman had once told him. She had had enough with the police protection for the continuous harassment of the sellers of the property agreed by his partner. They reached an agreement with him and harassed her so that he would retract, helped by the neighbors of the front and sides, who sought to have them gain the sale of the property and not another agency. But none of them realized that the property had a tax debt of about 10 million or more. They believe they are gods and want to reign in the place of the one who rebelled. Therefore, there is a decree against what they do. The spiritual law is in my favor. I activate the sequels against them for my protection, but I will look for some innocent person fulfilling my request before the throne of the Holy Creator. They disobey their main deity, that which was consecrated before or after birth. Therefore, by the violated decree, the curse of the ancestral decree will be activated, which says, the heart of said deity, that they were consecrated, possessed or invoked, both them as to whom convinced. What is named and what is not, what is known and to be known or what comes, must be taken out again and again, until the affront is cleared and the affront is restored for the agreed price of the hereditary and personal decree. They must return everything, including the souled memories and the judged in the physical and spiritual, which includes dimensions, galaxies, universes and what exists in them or to exist. The decree was not made by me, but by the Holy One in glory and the one who rebelled before and after rebelling, made for me. I see a future time, which is not enough to be a period. They will be unified. Therefore, the return of the machined, the done, the thing to do, the imagined, or what cannot be imagined will be returned according to its decrees against my life, my family or everything of ours or to have. In the same way the ancestral curse agreed by both kingdoms against them. Such violation must be paid. He repeated it over and over again, but what did it mean? Since I had left the exorcism group I had not heard astral voices. Something happened to his spirit. He wouldn't go crazy trying to know the answer, it was better to turn the page and trust God. Although with the discovery he would test his faith. They were their new neighbors, with the machine to translate what their platonic love used and they called psychotronic. I could never try it. He stretched out relaxing, although his chest ached and he thought. At least he is not an assailant. I do not fear them. I activate the decrees in my favor for each of the astral and human violations, which includes everything. Said in a firm and soft voice. Now it's your turn, Father. I look at the ceiling and pray. Lord, my heart is divided in two, with what you want for me and what I want. She had had enough with the police protection for the continuous harassment of the sellers of the property agreed by his partner. They reached an agreement with him and harassed her so that he would retract, helped by the neighbors of the front and sides, who sought to have them gain the sale of the property and not another agency. But none of them realized that the property had a tax debt of about 10 million or more. They believe they are gods and want to reign in the place of the one who rebelled. Therefore, there is a decree against what they do. The spiritual law is in my favor. I activate the sequels against them for my protection, but I will look for some innocent person fulfilling my request before the throne of the Holy Creator. They disobey their main deity, that which was consecrated before or after birth. Therefore, by the violated decree the curse of the ancestral decree will be activated, which says, the heart of said deity, that they were consecrated, possessed or invoked, both them as to whom convinced. What is named and what is not, what is known and to be known or what comes, must be taken out again and again, until the affront is cleared and the affront is restored for the agreed price of the hereditary and personal decree. They must return everything, including the souled memories and the judged in the physical and spiritual, which includes dimensions, galaxies, universes and what exists in them or to exist. The decree was not made by me, but by the Holy One in glory and the one who rebelled before and after rebelling, made for me. I see a future time, which is not enough to be a period. They will be unified. Therefore, the return of the machined, the done, the thing to do, the imagined, or what cannot be imagined will be returned according to its decrees against my life, my family or everything of ours or to have. In the same way the ancestral curse agreed by both kingdoms against them. Such violation must be paid. He repeated it over and over again, but what did it mean? Since I had left the exorcism group I had not heard astral voices. Something happened to his spirit. He wouldn't go crazy trying to know the answer, it was better to turn the page and trust God. Although with the discovery he would test his faith. They were their new neighbors, with a machine to translate what their platonic love used and they called psychotronic. I could never try it. He stretched out relaxing, although his chest ached and he thought. At least he is not an assailant. I do not fear them. I activate the decrees in my favor for each of the astral and human violations, which includes everything. Said in a firm and soft voice. Now it's your turn, Father. I look at the ceiling and pray, Lord, my heart is divided in two, with what you want for me and what I want. He made me a promise of marriage, I trust him. But if it is not yours or does not come from you, although once I accept you as Lord and Savior, make me disappointed, open my eyes and provide the means for me to move away from him. I give up all fear. What happened tonight, only you can take me out and help in this situation, put everything in my favor. Humanly I cannot do anything before them, not even with evidence, with what happened in the trial with those people, where the judge and the prosecutor were bought, my legal testimony was changed. Father, if they were unfolded it would be easy, but they do everything in human form, they buy what they want with money and favors, no matter hurting their own people. When I first saw them from my balcony, I felt that they would show me the customs of Israel, and they would be like Aaron to give a message to the leader of Israel and thus save him from I don't know what, but with this he shows me that he was wrong. The machine is used not as I was told, but for torture and caprice of these people. Father, I don't know how or where I know the machine, I only remember my imaginary friend used it as a translator when I was 3 years old. I don't have more information and it was my astral projected friend or relative, which prepared my mind against telepathic and psychic attacks. They boast that I violate a sacred place by being on land consecrated by them. But, the property is being negotiated and passes to new owner, who is my partner and the treatment was that we would live here, and with my decrees he makes his own to consecrate a place. In addition, I asked him, you know who, authorization to go to places dedicated to his kingdom where as a Christian he would have a curse or open doors, as explained by the books of people who left the witchcraft. Father, my God who opened the Red Sea, if he issued it and asked for your signature, your authority recognized, there is no open door. And if I asked for his, with that I recognized his in his kingdom of darkness. Without forgetting that yours is what is created in the earth itself, therefore, you are the owner of everything. Which also makes invalid his decree of slavery to have mine or transfer of spirit to have the decrees of my ancestors, or those that I did as a child to meet you and those that I asked you to read each chapter of your servant's book that came out of sorcery with the degree of wife of Lozbel. I didn't want risks when going on missions for the first time or doing something you don't like. Which reminds me that before that I already had a decree, since Christ abolished every adverse decree to my life and bought me at the price of blood, that is, his decree of slavery is invalid, not to mention that they have no spiritual clothing. They also boast that a werewolf helps them, just as vampires beloved. I only know what you have shown me in the astral field and testimonies of Christians, which are placated by the same church. Whether the existence of these beings is true or not, or they were only young people with excessive imagination, there is a decree. By that decree, I now order the spiritual world to validate that spiritual law, like every decree you made me do as a child, to help me remember them, and the promise of protection of those who saw me astrally projected. Father, my beloved Abba, with your money you believe God's. I fear for what happened a long time ago, for all the harassment I received from that woman, her friends and families that my friend wanted. I lost my baby. I am in your hands, my baby in my womb for 2 to 3 months of gestation is in your hands. My belly hurts, I have no foresight or money to go to an office, I can't walk there. My partner would not give me if he was with me, he does not want children and the drug addict takes everything. Nor can I find work with his harassment. I cannot recover what was stolen by Vienna or Rudisilis from my portfolio in that internet center. Even the medical tests that show that I have something in my heart take them out of my wallet, my cell phone and the money to pay the company's labor taxes in my name. She and her group know that my partner will not give me the money and boasts what they have prepared for me, following me everywhere with the former tenant to let me know, putting up posters throughout the city saying that I have a mental illness that I do not have. It is a complete, total and absolute vexation supported by these new neighbors of money, the famous Hinspirites, who have a relative as minister of my country. Father, I believe in you and your promises. I want to sleep and I think I have the answer, but now the media is missing and the fear that surrounds me is lost. I put on the armor of your Holy Spirit that appears in Ephesians 6, be it literal on the astral plane or just a didactic example of your servant, the Apostle Paul. I take what is stolen by the darkness, ordering the indemnity that the writing says in your pacts with me. In the name that is above all names, which gave his life for me on the cross of the tree. Amen.